Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tammy Bruce.
You guys look great. So many women in this room, ladies. Thank you. Let them hear you, everybody. Being watched around the world. This clearly, as the Reformation continues, thank you for having me. As you know, you see me on Fox News on occasion, and we love you. I'm the president of Independent Women's Voice, a great organization. Check it out, iwv.org. And of course, Washington Times. I think Washington Times has a good presence here as well, my column. But all of these things I do because I care about the future, I care about your families, and I care about this country. This is the greatest country on God's green earth. You already know this. And I think I'm allowed to walk around a little bit. I'm a pacer. But for those of you watching at home, on the C-SPAN site, Fox Nation, the CPAC site, you don't really have a sense of the power in this room and the nature of what's occurring. Now, the president, of course, will be here later. That man who's making everything possible. But I want to broach something with you. You're hearing a lot about unity over these last few weeks, right? Since the coronavirus showed up. And we're having to talk about unity because of the approach by liberals and Democratic leadership, not necessarily Democrats in the grassroots, using that as an issue, again, to further divide people. But my question is, why should we stop at that? Why is it just that we should become unified on, as something that affects our families, our lives, and the future? It affects perhaps the markets, but of course, as we also know, this is something the media doesn't like to share with you, as they carry the water for certain political candidates and for a certain political side, is the fact that this is the greatest nation on earth. We do have an economy that is strong because of Donald Trump. It is not a static economy. It's one that is so strong it can withstand what's known as a black swan, which is something that occurs that you maybe couldn't have imagined, that wasn't planned. But this is why Donald Trump was elected, so that we are not just barely getting by, so that if something surprising happens, this nation gets attacked, or like the coronavirus, a natural disaster, if you will, we are ready. What does that tell you about Donald Trump's success already in just 3 years? It tells you everything you need to know. The consistency of, we figured he'd know what to do, but we had to see if he would deliver. And we saw him deliver. He continues to deliver despite the efforts at resistance. And the efforts even to overturn what he's doing or to use the courts to stop him, he won't be stopped. That has become clear. But things have to move at a quicker pace, don't they? So my question to you here is why should we stop at the coronavirus when it comes to unity? Why is it just that? But an even bigger question is, why is this even an issue at all? Why is it with something that completely transcends politics? A virus doesn't care about your political party. It doesn't care about your complexion. It doesn't care about your sex. It doesn't care about who you love. It doesn't care about where you live. It really doesn't. It's an equal opportunity dynamic. And yet, for the Democrats at least, it seems to be an opportunity to further divide and conquer. It seems to be something that they hope, and you get this impression with what they say, getting excited that the stock market has gone down a bit, getting excited that this might be the thing that gets Trump. It's when Bill Maher said that he was hoping for a recession because even though people would be hurt, he said this on the air, one of his panels, that it would be worth it because it would get rid of Trump. That is at the core of what we are fighting against. This is why Donald Trump is president. Because as Donald Trump is working for Americans, the other side is working for themselves. That is a huge difference between the motivations of what's happening here. So as we ask ourselves, why are they willing to do this? I think this is important too, because we thought it would maybe stop as the president delivered on his agenda, extraordinary historic employment, incredible economic dynamic. The stock market is just one symbol of that. How many small business owners are in this room? Yeah. You know, that is the American way. It's the American way, and you've been able to do that because of a cutting down of regulations, because of a good economic policy, but also because of the president's optimism. Some people have been complaining that the president hasn't been anxious enough about the coronavirus, or he hasn't been panicked enough, that he had a press conference and, you know, making a joke and having a laugh at the press, telling people what's going on. It is sort of like the flu. But what do they want? Do they want him to be someone who is a pessimist like they are? That where they rely on victimhood, where they rely on existential drama? That's not Donald Trump, is it? And it's not the Trump family. This is a group of people that understand what's possible. When you're in the United States in particular, you understand what can be done, medically and otherwise, and not just on this kind of an emergency, but any other emergency that we would face. When we think about who would you have wanted to be president on September 11th? Bernie? Elizabeth Warren? Think about, this is where leadership matters, is when there is an unexpected crisis, right? This is the same thing in your household, right? How well prepared you are for a surprise. So when you think about the lineup, and it's not just you as conservatives, look, we know the conservative ideal is the American ideal. We know this. And we know that that's true across the political parties. We know that the grassroots base of the Democratic Party, with the exception of the far left, which seems to be driving it these days, have the same concerns you do. Independents have the same concerns you do. So when they see, when I talk about unity here, when everyone is watching the chaos on the Democratic side, you are not the only ones who are appalled. Democrats are appalled as well. And this is why they're panicked generally about everything. And the messaging constantly is like, well, like with coronavirus, attacking the president personally. And this is the other irony, because they also don't want this discussed. As the president was actually organizing to deal with the emerging coronavirus, that the Democrats, what were they doing? Working on impeachment. They were still dealing with impeachment, obsessed with that. And then do you remember the switch back to the Russia hoax? When that died, then it came right back to everybody being a Russian agent. This is as the president is organizing ways to get Americans who may be infected back into the country, making sure that we've got ways to get them into airports without affecting other people, making sure that they would have, you know, either some isolation, certainly medical care, and that has kept, certainly from the start, this from getting even worse, as we've seen it get worse in other countries. And the reason you don't hear about that is because it's been a success. It's because it's been a success. So this is what the president has been doing. So for all of us, you know, several years here, how many of you have been to a CPAC before? Yeah? Great. You remember certainly the early years. This is a huge gathering. It's been completely sold out. What you have to be proud of, and what I'm proud of as well, is recognizing that Donald Trump was a representative of something beyond himself, that he, in fact, was you. The perfect example of the American ideal, of someone who's done well in the country, who speaks plainly, who is consistent with what you believe in, and who cares about what is going on and is willing to step up to do something about it. Which is why when the Democrats, as they obsess about the president, they have to realize that while he will be going in 2024 and no earlier, you will still be here. You are going nowhere. You are the sovereign for life, aren't you? They keep complaining and whining about kings. Well, meet your sovereign. Take another look outside of your bubbles of New York and Los Angeles. Look at this conference, and you will see who it is to whom you are answerable. And it is us. It is the spectrum of people in this room, but it is also the Democrats and the independents that are out there, your fellow Americans, likely your neighbors, your coworkers. They are exhausted. Imagine, at Fox News, we try to keep you entertained and informed. Imagine watching MSNBC all day long. Now, everybody stopped watching CNN, so that's not an issue now. So that happens. But the fact of the matter is, many people, of course, are searching for new information, new outlets, because they know that they've been manipulated. They know that they've been lied to. They know that there is something better. We're at a stage now, as we've seen the president perform in a brilliant way, making sure he stayed consistent, dealt with the issues, delivered, made promises, and kept them. But now it is up to us to make sure that this goes beyond one electoral cycle. This is not about one election, right? This is about generations coming forward, right? Generation after generation. And making it clear that for people like a Trump or anybody else who can make a huge difference for this country, that door is open, and that everyone, whatever your party is, everybody realizes that this reformation, as they've already experienced personally, is for them, and that they can join us, and that you can go and vote, and that if you're a Democrat, you are not relegated to voting for what it is you've been presented on that side, that there is hope for something new and different, and put aside what you've been attacked with and what you've been conditioned with to believe about people who might think differently than you, and look at the nature of what we've been able to accomplish so far. That is, when we think about unity, the unity is our frame of mind, realizing that others really do want the opportunity to make that decision and to make it easy for them to do so. Democratic leadership is a problem. Well, heck, sometimes Republican leadership is a problem too, isn't it? A few senators we can think of. But that's why you are the Congress of the United States, aren't you? You and your family are the ones who will make these decisions. And look, with somebody like Trump in front of us, representing us, we can make a lot happen. But again, it will continue and has to continue as we think about 2024 and 2028 and 2032. In the blink of an eye, that will be here. This is our generation's fight. It's an honor to be here with you. And it's going to be an exciting day. Thank you for being with me. And I'll see you out there. Thank you.